The Drug Enforcement Administration warns of a sharp increase in fake prescription pills containing fentanyl and methamphetamine, killing unsuspecting Americans. Skittles, robo-tripping, and syrup head? Kids in America are using this slang to hide the abuse to cough medicine. We'll tell you what you can do to help.
Imagine knowing scientific methods for living, tapping the unlimited potentials that are your birthright as a soul.
This high honors MIT graduate who was set to go into Harvard Medical School left it all to develop a method to tap into your psychic abilities. You cannot miss the exclusive interview. Oh, the mothership, literally. More and more people over the world are living completely off the grid. I will explain. Arlene Inspires the newscast starts right now. Welcome to another episode of Arlene Inspires the Wellness Newscast. Let's get right to it, shall we? Dexing, Skittles, robo-tripping, and syrup head. According to the Department of Health and Human Services in the United States, 1 in 3 children know of a child that is abusing cough medicine. And not because they're sick. They do it to get high from one of its ingredients. This is a call to action for parents. You have the power to reduce teen over-the-counter cough medicine abuse. Please don't talk at your child. Truly listen to them. Pay attention to what they're saying and how they are behaving. And don't forget to monitor all medications. If you suspect your child is misusing or abusing medicine, you are not alone. You can connect with a helpline specialist from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids by phone at 855-378-4373 or 855-DRUG-FREE. The rest of the information is showing on your screen. In other news, the Drug Enforcement Administration reports that the number of counterfeit pills with fentanyl has jumped nearly 430% since 2019. DEA laboratory testing further reveals that today 2 out of every 5 pills with fentanyl contains at least 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which is considered a deadly dose. Additionally, methamphetamine is increasingly being passed into counterfeit pills as well. Some of the most common counterfeit pills are made to look like prescription opioids, such as oxycodone, like OxyContin or Percocet, hydrocodone found in Vicodin, and alprazolam found in Xanax, or stimulants like amphetamines in Adderall. Fake prescription pills are widely accessible and often sold on social media and e-commerce platforms, making them available to anyone with a smartphone, including teens and young adults. But you too can do your part, and this brings me to my next story.
He started buying his prescription drugs online, but I was worried.
This young man has a reason to be worried, given the story I just shared. The National Association of Board of Pharmacists is a non-profit international organization that supports and works with the state boards of pharmacy to protect the public's health. They created Before You Buy, Verify. The association urges patients to visit their consumer website at www.safe.pharmacy. There is a free search tool to check whether the online pharmacy you're using is verified. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration in America is supporting Project Aware, advancing wellness and resilience in education, investing $107 million during the fiscal year of 2021. Their intention is to increase awareness of mental health issues among our youth, providing training for school personnel and other adults who interact with them to detect and respond to mental health issues. This project also helps students and their families connect to needed services for those students who may have behavioral health issues, including serious emotional disturbance or serious mental illness. Project Aware sites have already been established in Indiana, Montana, North Carolina, among other states. In the previous episode, I proposed to you the belief that happiness is a choice, and I am happy to report I inspired some of you to do polls online, sparking dialogue. Today, I want to discuss our passions. Are you doing what you truly love? Since 2022 is around the corner, some of you may be questioning and doing inventory of what you like and don't like to do for work. So I thought I'd share some tips I wrote in my chapter, Light Up with Purpose, in which I help you brainstorm our passions without selling your soul for money or emotional obligation. You can find my chapter of Light Up with Purpose in the Everyday Woman Guide to Doing What You Love. The book is available on Amazon in 13 languages. Previously, we discussed the medical reports on intuition. Today, I want to bring you a scientific explanation about the spirit world. Yes, you heard me right. During this interview, I asked how to explain the spirit world to very religious people from a scientific perspective. We discussed extrasensory perception versus higher sensory perception and the scientific explanation for our psychic senses. And yes, our spirit guides. And for that, I had the pleasure to interview Mr. Pete Sanders, a high honors MIT graduate where he studied biomedical chemistry and brain science. He was accepted into Harvard Medical School, but instead he created his own mind-body nonprofit organization in Sedona called Free Soul. He's also the author of You Are Psychic. I can't wait for you to get as much insight as I did with his perspective. Let's roll the interview. Mr. Sanders, thank you so much for joining us today. I have a question for you. How does someone that went to MIT, an honors graduate from MIT, accepted to go into Harvard Medical School, who chooses instead to focus on the supernatural, intuition, the spirit world? Tell me, how does that happen?
I don't see it as a conflict if you consider that all great science has been about exploring new horizons. And we know more about space and the oceans than we do about the unlimitedness of the human mind. And the latest in physics, superstrings physics, says that everything exists in 10 or more dimensions. And we don't have the technology yet to build machines to measure into those dimensions. But since we, as energy, do, we can be pioneers exploring those potentials that are our birthright as a free soul.
I love that someone like you, with your background, with all that knowledge, can sit here and help expose this, have a different perspective than most spiritual beings that we are here is trying to spread as much word to the world about this intuition, supernatural, the spirit world. I believe that there's no better time in history where the spirit world and us humans are co-creating to expand and make this a more beautiful world. So I want
the other part of my background, the second half of the answer is I grew up in Southern California and I saw a lot of abuse in this field. And so I said, I know I'd be a good doctor, but I want to dedicate my life to nonprofit public education service in this field. That the primary purpose is, number one, helping people be their own best teachers, getting to the essence of the issue, not the hype, and making it practical, livable. How do you live life as a soul? It doesn't have to be an either or.
love that. You know, that's one of the things that I talk about. Even when we talk about, for example, medicine, we don't have to choose between Western and Eastern medicine. They can coexist. They both have their beautiful uses, right? And there's no one either or. It's same thing when I talk about vulnerability. You can be powerful and vulnerable and be able to experience both worlds, the spiritual and the physical. And I love what you just said in your mission. Here's my second question for you. What do you tell from a scientific perspective to those religious human beings that are very into their faith and are not open-minded about the spiritual, about intuition, about the spirit world? What would you say to them?
Well, there are numerous accounts in all holy books of people connecting with angels and spirits and using their intuition and connecting with the divine. And again, if you do it practically from within your faith, I don't people, you know, it disturbed me that people were told when I was growing up in Southern California, you have to leave your faith and be a devotee of a guru to explore spiritually. I don't feel that's true. These are secrets from science that work for all faiths, and I'm a believer in the philosophy of no one should go to a guru but themselves, because if you just spell it slowly, guru is G, you are you.
Oh,
And
wow.
I also, when I was doing an interview once with a very fundamentalist religious radio show, I asked the producer. I said, "Bob, do you teach your children to read?" And he said, "Of course I do." I said, "But if they can read pornography. But
Mm.
if they can't read, they can't read the good book. They can't read the Holy Scriptures." It's teaching people how to explore and use their skills responsibly and within their faith. That's the key thing.
Yeah, that's wow. Guru, I've never heard that and I love it. I'm gonna start using it with your permission. That is such an amazing way to look at it. And everything we have all the answers. We're powerful beyond measure, as Marianne Williamson talks about. We
And I want to give credit. I first heard that from a comedian who goes by the name of Swami Beyondananda.
oh my God.
He does the
Well,
lighter
yes,
side of enlightenment.
yes, that's great. My third question for you is I believe that we're all born with our intuition senses. As a matter of fact, it's one of my mission is to teach it to everyone that I'm not special for having my own intuitive senses, and I love to teach people to tap into their own. From a scientific explanation, can you tell me? Can you explain what are our psychic senses?
Well, first of all, I like to tell people, be very clear, I do not believe in ESP, extrasensory perception. I believe in HSP, higher sensory perception. Superstrings physics says, remember, everything exists in 10 or more dimensions. Well, the three physical ones we know, plus time, the physical senses work through energy and matter of those three physical dimensions. So they're the way we sense through the body. Superstrings physics says we exist in more. And so, since superstrings physics, soul really is not just a religious term. I can talk to a complete atheist and say, you as a soul, and I mean you and your six or more other senses that superstrings physics says you exist in. So, actually, HSP is more accurately higher soul perception.
I
It's the
love
way
it.
you sense in those dimensions beyond. Now, we just don't get a whole lot of training in how to tap those senses. You have decades of training in how to use our physical senses to read, and that the blobs of ink make the letter A. And you don't realize until I did when I went to Japan as a naval officer and couldn't read anything, how much training we've had with that. But
Yeah,
what really was fun was going to Greece was even worse because their whole alphabet is things I associated with equation symbols. So we need something that practically trains us. That's what my books and courses are about, and does it in a way that's ethical and responsible. Some people are more naturally gifted
mhm.
intuitively, just as Michael Jordan naturally gifted to play basketball. I'm never going to be a Michael Jordan, but I can learn to shoot free throws unless my name is Shaq. No, sorry, Shaq.
But that's a great example because it is that available to everyone, right? We're born with it. As long as we have a soul, we are born with this what I like to call gifts, but it's an ability that we all have. And then, like you just said, we just have to get trained because we need to remember that we have them and they're there to tap into. I like to call them declares for
And
sure.
I know we're going to refer to this more at the end, but just because it fits right now, the key thing about my book, You Are Psychic, or in Spanish, Tú eres psíquico, it it chrono it chronicles my work at MIT finding brain and body areas that are like portals to those higher senses. So when you focus there, you can turn up the volume on those sensitivities. That also helps people practice. But equally importantly, it's for safety.
Yeah,
People walk around saying, I want to be psychic all the time. And that's not safe if they're in a negative environment. So being able to be shielded, knowing how to open the window when you want a sense and then shield
responsibly.
back is the responsible, safe way to do it.
Yes, and thank you for clarifying that. And I can't wait to talk about the end of all the things that you do. Let's jump into the spirit world more specific to our spirit guides. What is that scientific explanation?
Well, it starts with the fact that we're all energy. Einstein's E equals mc squared equation said everything's energy, just in different forms. Before that, science thought there was matter over here and energy over there. And that equation changed all of science and said we're all energy. Now, the physical body is the part of our energy that's in this three-dimensional realm. The part that exists in those dimensions beyond, whether you want to call it spirit or soul or higher dimensions, is also energy. And the other great scientific truism is energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only changed in form.
Mm-hmm.
The same way matter can and does evolve, in the center of the sun, hydrogen is crammed together to make helium and release heat and light. Then helium is crammed together to make carbon and release heat and light. And it's more and more stuff is crammed together, eventually making iron. And when the star runs out of stuff to cram together, it novas and it makes even more complex elements that spew out that become the building blocks of us. We are all literally stardust. If
Yeah.
matter can evolve, it makes sense to me that consciousness can evolve. And whether you call them guides, guardian angels, there are souls that have mastered what we're working on that can be kindred spirits mentoring us. What do they get out of it? The old saying, you really learn something when you teach it. I believe my guardian angels are learning reams about patience working with me.
I love it. I like to call them my spirit squad.
There it is.
I work with them all day long. I'm always guided. I feel their love and I'll feel their guidance all the time. And this is a topic that I just geek out on. And tell me, from the same perspective, how would you explain how to tap into your own spirit squad?
Well, there's a technique that's on my website, freesoul.net, that anybody can watch for free called the Soul Shift. And it's basically focusing lower legs and then riding an elevator through the body, knees, waist, chest, head, and that shifts you into the dimensions beyond that is more that soul you. So it's almost like it's easier to receive
Mhm.
when you're outside the atmosphere, the distorting, atmosphere. When I was lecturing at MIT on some of this one brain science professor was giving me a hard time, and I said, "You do realize Einstein said when he was asked where did he get his stuff, I've learned to tap the universal unconscious." I thought that was a pretty good answer. And he
Yeah.
went, "Nah, that was just PR hype." So the way I
Oh,
reached him
wow.
was Hubble telescope. The Hubble telescope is infinitely better than land based telescopes because it's above the distortion of the atmosphere. When we can get out of limbic brain, the part of the brain that keeps us in survival struggle and into those dimensions beyond, it's like the static goes away. It's like rising above the brown cloud of smog, you know, if you fly into LA or Denver and you receive more clearly.
I love that. It's you explained it completely different, but that is a practice that I do, and I can totally relate that you're 100% on point on the way to be able to expand your consciousness, to be able to tap in and receive that.
Now, can I give one other tip that's very
Yeah.
important?
Yes, of course.
And this is just my philosophy. I don't mean to, I'm not casting aspersions at what anybody else does. But when you pray, when you want to communicate with spirit, don't be a beggar. Be a communicator. Go up to that level and talk with the divine. Talk with your angel spirits, not from a needy, help me, do it for me, but hey, I'm working on this problem. You probably went through the same thing. What do you recommend? What am I missing? Because see, when we're equals in the sense of we're all learning, then you're not looking down on yourself. You're not doing this. You're saying, I want to learn with you, spirit. And that to me, I think, further opens the door.
And to your point, I say it a little bit differently, is when you're coming from a place of faith that it's already done, it's already resolved, as opposed to coming from a place of fear and neediness and worry, because then you're going against that whole energy of having that faith as seeing it already done, having that communication. I truly have spent so much time talking about this topic on how to pray, and for me it was a huge aha moment when it happened, when I learned the correct way about a decade ago on how to really communicate, because from my own history in my family, they pray from a place of begging for a solution, as opposed to having that faith. And I just enjoyed all of your explanations from a different perspective. I am so thankful that you came here today. If someone wants to get a hold of you, please let them know how to get a hold of you, and talk about what you have available for our viewers.
Well, my website is freesoul.net. No spaces, the two words free and soul, and net for network. That shows them a lot of our materials. My book, You Are Psychic, and the Spanish version, Tu Eres Psíquico, are available through Amazon or in print. Our website tells people how to do it. But the main thing, it's all available through freesoul.net.
I really appreciate it. I will go ahead and put all of your information in all of the website platforms, so they know how to get a hold of you as well. And once again, I thank you for your time. Thank you for the beautiful view. Let's tell people where you are. You're in Sedona?
I'm in Sedona, and we have some hummingbird feeders behind me, which I've heard hummingbirds represent eternity, and I want to let everybody know that Sedona welcomes them, and we think of them all as kindred spirits of the heart and soul for eternity.
I love it. And actually, I'm going to put some packages together for some of my clients, and I will be calling you to set it up so we can have some of that magical experiences that you offer in Sedona. Thank you so much again.
Till next time.
Till next time. Thank you, Mr. Sanders. What an honor. If you would like to contact him, his information is on your screen. Like him, I want to join him in the efforts to stop the abuse from intuitives who take advantage of the people when they are at their most vulnerable time. And speaking of vulnerability, communities across the world are preparing with a concept that was created in the 1970s. I'm talking about the Earthship community in biotecture. An earthship is a type of passive solar house that is made of both natural and upcycled materials, such as earth-packed tires pioneered by architect Michael Reynolds. The video you are seeing here is of a community in Taos, New Mexico. Don't forget to tune in to Arlene Inspires, the podcast edition. Holding on to hope with Haley. Every day I find myself wanting to understand and appreciate her generation. Before we go, the holidays are around the corner, and in the next month's episodes, I have exciting tips to stay resilient during the holiday season, and I even have some gift ideas. You cannot miss my interview about Quentals.com, a multilingual gift that will keep on giving for generations to come. Thank you for watching. Please hold on to compassion and love as we kick off November 2021. For our viewers in the United States, may you have a Thanksgiving full of gratitude, kindness, and compassion. Until next time.